character of the communities that you're doing business. And there's going to be several factors here in the presentation that I want to touch upon. They give you a better context of what is NIMBY, why is it such a prevalent force, and why it's so negative. It's almost like a divorce. Either you've had the experience or you know someone else who's had the pleasure. And where communities are divorcing themselves of good, sustainable real estate projects. I work with corporate developers in just about every stripe of industry, from retail to commercial, industrial, mixed use, infill, and you see a common denominator throughout those industries, including energy, mining, and so forth. And that common denominator is really not touched upon in the presentations like this, or the publications that you see, with regard to, you have to go out and do your coffee meetings. You need to do some press, some advanced press, meet with community leaders, but it really doesn't give you an appreciation of the dynamics behind the force that is called NIMBY and status quo opposition. And so many corporate leaders, from Fortune 500 companies right down to individual developers, they kind of see this outreach and engagement as optional. It's like, let's roll the dice. We have our lawyer, we have our consultants, we have the legal process, and so let's just see what happens. And the consequence of that kind of corporate policy and corporate culture becomes very expensive. And so what I'm hoping to accomplish here is to give you a better understanding of where it comes from the law of attraction. What is that law of attraction? The bad news is it's the corporations that actually create it. It's the corporate leaders, it's the representatives in the field, from your corporate governance right down to your engagement here in City Hall or the local municipalities that are overseeing your zoning, your sites, or right-of-ways, et cetera. And so that law of attraction, which I want to touch upon now, puts you in a weakness, makes you vulnerable. But the good news is, if you can create that law of attraction, well, you can break it. You not only break it, but then you can put your corporate reputation, your credibility, community goodwill in an optimal posture that's going to not only put the corporations that you represent and they're representing to elected officials and the community, but you're also going to mitigate and neutralize the venom from the vocal minorities that are called NIMBY. And we're going to look at the different facets of who is the opposition? Is it just John Q. Public? How do the DC-centric environmentalists, how do they really work to come after pipelines in the energy sector? So I'll start before I go to the slide. I've been dealing with NIMBY for 20 years. I still remember my first experience when I became mayor of Safety Harbor in the Tampa Bay area. It's right next to Clearwater, right on the bay. I was 27 years old in 1996, and I was pretty fresh into office, and it was just, I had my agenda for my city commission meeting, and I looked at the agenda, and there was some kind of rezoning for conduct. My city manager told me, well, we could, everyone's for it. It's, the planning and zoning commission or advisory council approved it. Our planning director likes it, and everyone's going to vote for it. It's innocuous. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to be going to City Hall on Monday night. This was Thursday. I'm going to go on Monday night. It's just going to be one of those things. We'll be in and out in a half hour. So we get to the City Hall. There's the applicant. And here's his lawyer. Here's my four commissioners, myself, and we're just pretty much going to rubber stamp and just go through the first hearing. And lo and behold, comes one person who's sitting there, audience be heard. He stands before the commission and he says, I'm opposed to this project. I have a petition here of my 30 neighbors in my homeowner association. They were against it. And right then and there, that applicant had 3 votes against him. Because I had 2 commissioners who were running for re-election, and there was one that follows the other commissioner. And so now I'm looking and, okay, this is going to be interesting. And the lawyer comes up and he does his presentation, and they have no clue that they're going to get nuked here. And so I liked the project. It was good for the quality of life in my community. I pulled the lawyer off to the side, off to the dais, and I asked him, I said, do you know who that is? And the developer, did you even talk to him? I said, no. He said, well, he's a former elected official. He was a commissioner. He's the president of the homeowner association right next door. And so I think he's an important person for you to talk to. Long story short, we had to delay it and table it, and they went back to him, and it came down to this. He was insulted that no one came to him because he has a reputation. He's a thought leader. His neighbors were coming up to him, hey, John, you didn't even know about this project? Yeah, and they were chastising him because he's out of the loop. All he would have wanted from that applicant was a visual buffer of shrubs, so they didn't have to see it. Something that would cost, what, $1,000? Instead, now here's millions of dollars on the line because they did not look for the thought leaders, or more importantly, get the blessing. And that's really going to be the underlying theme here, is getting the blessing of the city fathers. And if you don't have it, then you really are at the peril of both of mine.